The Galactic Integration Academy was supposed to be a symbol of unity. Species from 40 different star systems sent their young ones to learn together, to build bridges between worlds that had once viewed each other with suspicion. The massive floating station orbited a neutral star, and its halls echoed with languages that clicked, hummed, whistled, and growled. It was beautiful in theory. In practice, it was chaos barely contained by protocols and hope. Teacher Mira Chen had been working at the academy for 3 standard years. She was one of only 12 humans on staff and the only one assigned to the early development wing. Her classroom held students between the ages of 5 and 8 in human years, though some of her alien students were technically decades old by their own calendars. Age meant nothing here. What mattered was developmental stage, and her class was filled with the equivalent of young children from species across the galaxy. Today had started like any other day. Mira had arrived early to arrange the learning pods and check the atmospheric settings. Her classroom was a marvel of engineering. Each section could be adjusted for different gravity levels, temperatures, and air compositions. The Valari students needed more humidity. The Krethawks preferred things cold. The Zorvani required higher oxygen content. Managing it all was like conducting an orchestra where every instrument played in a different key. The students began arriving through various entrances designed for their physical forms. Some walked, some floated, some slithered. Mira greeted each one by name. A small gesture that many of her alien colleagues found strange, but that the children seemed to appreciate. Names mattered to the young ones, regardless of species. The trouble started about an hour into the morning session. Mira had divided the class into groups for a collaborative project on interstellar communication. The assignment was simple enough. Each group had to create a message that could be understood by any species without translation technology. It was meant to teach empathy and perspective-taking. Instead, it became a battlefield. In the corner of the room, a young Torvax cub named Renix was struggling. The Torvax were a predator species from a high-gravity world. They stood about 4 feet tall at Renix's age, covered in thick brown fur, with powerful limbs and retractable claws. Their society valued strength and dominance above all else. Sending their children to the academy was a controversial decision that many Torvax elders still opposed. Renix had been placed in a group with a Valari named Seely, a Krethox named Temtem, and a human boy named Marcus. The project required cooperation, but Renix did not understand cooperation the way the others did. In Torvax culture, you led or you followed. You dominated or you submitted. The concept of equals working together was alien to everything his instincts told him. Seely, the Valari, was a delicate creature with translucent skin and flowing tendrils where humans would have hair. She communicated through color changes and soft musical tones. She had suggested that their message use universal mathematical patterns. It was a reasonable idea. Renix had immediately rejected it, not because it was bad, but because accepting another's idea felt like submission. Temtem, the Krethox, had tried to mediate. The Krethox were insectoid beings with compound eyes and chitinous shells. They valued harmony and consensus. Temtem's attempts to find middle ground only made Renix more agitated. The cub saw compromise as weakness. Marcus had made things worse without meaning to. He had laughed at something Temtem said, a friendly laugh, a bonding laugh, but Renix did not understand human laughter. To his predator instincts, bared teeth and loud vocalizations meant challenge. He thought Marcus was mocking him. Mira noticed the tension building from across the room. She started moving toward the group, but she was too far away. Everything happened in seconds. Renix roared. It was a sound that made every prey species in the room freeze in primal terror. His claws extended. He swept his powerful arm across the table, sending learning pads and project materials flying. Then he grabbed his desk, a piece of furniture designed to withstand considerable force, and hurled it across the room. It crashed into a wall and left a dent in the reinforced metal. The classroom erupted in panic. Students screamed in their various languages. Some fled for the exits, others froze in place. The Villari children changed to pale white, the color of their fear. The Zorvani pups huddled together and whimpered. 2 security drones activated automatically and descended from the ceiling. They were programmed to subdue threats with non-lethal force. Their weapons hummed as they charged. Renix, now fully in the grip of his fight response, turned to face them. His fur stood on end, his muscles tensed for combat. He was just a child, but Torvak's children were still dangerous. Those claws could tear through standard body armor. The drones prepared to fire. Then Mira did something that made no sense to anyone watching. She stepped between the drones and the snarling cub. She raised one hand toward the security systems and spoke a single word, calm and clear. "Stop!" The drones froze. They were programmed to defer to teacher authority in non-lethal situations. The situation was borderline, but her command triggered their hesitation protocols. They hovered in place, weapons still ready, waiting for further instructions. Mira turned to face Renix. Every survival instinct she had was screaming at her to run. The cub was in full predator mode. His eyes had gone dark, pupils dilated for combat. His teeth were bared. His claws gleamed under the classroom lights. He was breathing in short, sharp bursts, his body ready to spring. She did not run. She did not back away. She did not show any sign of fear, though her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Instead, she lowered herself slowly to his eye level. She made herself small, but not submissive. She maintained eye contact, but her gaze was soft, not challenging. Her hands stayed visible at her sides, open and empty. The other teachers watching through the room's monitoring systems were certain she was about to be mauled. Some were already calling for additional security. The Torvak's liaison officer was running down the corridor, expecting to find carnage. Mira spoke quietly. Her voice was steady and warm. She used Renix's name. She told him that she could see he was upset. She told him that what he was feeling was real and valid. She did not tell him to calm down. She did not tell him he was being bad. She simply acknowledged his existence and his emotions. Something in the cub's posture shifted. The tension in his shoulders eased slightly. His breathing slowed by a fraction. He was still dangerous, still on edge, but he was listening. Mira continued speaking. She explained that she was not his enemy. She explained that no one in this room was his enemy. She told him that she understood his world was different, that the rules he had learned at home did not apply here, and that this was confusing and frightening. She told him that being confused and frightened did not make him weak. It made him brave for being here at all. Renix's claws slowly retracted. The darkness in his eyes began to recede. He was coming back from whatever primal place his instincts had taken him. Then Mira did something remarkable. She pointed to a corner of the classroom. It was a quiet space, separated from the main area by a partial wall. It had soft lighting and comfortable seating designed for multiple species. She called it the thinking corner. Students went there voluntarily when they needed time to process their emotions. She looked at Renix and made a simple gesture. She extended her arm toward the corner, palm up, inviting rather than commanding. She did not order him to go. She did not threaten consequences. She simply offered him a choice. The room was silent. Every student, every monitoring officer, everyone watching held their breath. Renix looked at the corner. He looked at Mira. His young face showed confusion, then consideration, then something that might have been relief. He walked to the corner. He sat down on one of the cushions designed for Torvak's physiology. He curled his tail around his legs and stared at the floor. He stayed there for the entire rest of the class. Mira dismissed the security drones with a quiet command. She turned to face her traumatized students, and began the delicate process of restoring calm. She checked on each child individually. She comforted the frightened ones. She praised the brave ones. She explained what had happened in simple terms. Renix had big feelings, she told them. Big feelings are hard for everyone. He needed time to feel better. We will give him that time because that is what we do for each other here. The class slowly returned to something resembling normal. Students went back to their projects. The damaged desk was removed by maintenance robots. The dent in the wall remained as a reminder, but Mira decided to leave it for now. Sometimes reminders were important. Throughout all of this, Renix sat in the corner. He did not move. He did not make a sound. Occasionally, Mira would glance his way, and once or twice their eyes met. She would give him a small nod, nothing more, and then return her attention to the other students. When the class ended and students began filing out, Renix finally stood. He walked toward Mira with his head low and his tail dragging. In Torvak's body language, this was the posture of shame, of admitting defeat. Mira knelt down to his level again. She told him that tomorrow was a new day. She told him that she was not angry with him. She told him that she wanted to help him learn how to handle his big feelings in ways that did not hurt others or himself. Renix looked at her with something like wonder in his young eyes. No adult had ever spoken to him this way. In his world, weakness was punished. Failure meant consequences. The idea that someone could see his worst moment and still offer kindness was beyond his understanding. He asked her why she was not afraid of him. His voice was small and rough. Mira smiled gently. She told him that she was afraid. She was very afraid. But being afraid and being brave were not opposites. You could be both at the same time. She was brave because she cared about him. And caring about someone was worth being afraid for. Renix left the classroom that day changed. He did not transform overnight. There were other incidents in the weeks and months that followed, though none as severe. Each time Mira responded with the same patient consistency. She set boundaries without aggression. She offered choices without ultimatums. She treated him like a person worthy of respect, even when his behavior was unacceptable. The story spread through the academy and beyond. Other teachers, human and alien alike, studied her methods. The Torvak's liaison officer requested copies of the classroom recordings. He could not believe that a human, a species the Torvaks had always considered weak and soft, had faced down a raging cub with nothing but her voice and her presence. The answer, of course, was that humans were neither weak nor soft. They were survivors of a harsh world who had learned that strength came in many forms. They had raised children of their own for countless generations. They understood that the smallest beings often had the biggest feelings. They knew that patience and love were weapons more powerful than claws or fangs. Mira Chen was not special among humans. She was simply a teacher doing her job. But to the galaxy watching, she was proof that humanity belonged among the stars. Not because they could fight, though they could. Not because they could conquer, though they had. But because they could look at a frightened, angry child of another species and see not a threat, but a soul in need of guidance. That was the human gift. That was why they were feared and loved in equal measure across 100 worlds. They saw potential where others saw danger. They offered hope where others offered only force. And sometimes all it took was one gesture to change everything.